now. Let's go. Are we live? Let me just make sure that it's live, and then I'm gonna go ahead with the tutorial. Where are my notes? Are we live? Okay, we're live. YouTube. So you want to create arcane style hair. This stream, this VOD you're watching right now, will be the long form version of a video that I'm working on right now. I'll link if you want like a truncated, less in-depth version of this, go ahead and go to my YouTube channel and look under the main videos, and you should find the main video version of this tutorial. But if you don't see a link in the description, or you don't find the video, then that means that I'm still working on it. Yo, Raspy, hello. Okay, so let's just get right into this. Okay, you want to create this style of hair, right? You want to create chunks of hair with this anisotropic look. Okay, it is not 100% like the arcane hair. Okay, disclaimer. From the clips that I've seen in Bridging the Rift, it seems like they relied on XGen. So for this case, we're gonna be using hair curves in Blender. So that is already one of the major differences. Just keep that in mind. And also, wait, what was it? Okay, never mind. If I remember what I was gonna say, I'll bring it up again. So let's just get right into it. The first thing that we're going to need to do or create is... Oh, wait, sorry. Where's my Twitch chat? I don't want to... There you guys are. Okay, so the first thing that we want to create is the curves. So we need two curves. One, we need the path curve. So let's go ahead and create the path curve, which just so happen to be called path as well. And then I'm going to hit F2 and call this path. This will be the hair path, and then we're going to create another shape. I'm going to use the Bezier circle, okay? And I'm going to call this the profile. So we have a hair path and a hair profile. So the whole intent here, what we want to do is to extrude this shape along this path to create our chunk of hair, okay? So I'm going to go to Properties, and then under the object data properties, geometry, go over the bevel object, and then with the eyedropper tool, select on the profile. So now you can see how they kind of like correspond with one another. You could go ahead and I'm gonna try my best to create like a squarish shape. Okay. You're seeing history right here. And then I'm going to shrink this down. Actually, wait, let me just subdivide this. Okay, then I'm going to select these. Go to individual origins, shrink it down. I'm scaling it down. And then set it back to median point, just like that. Yeah, it's just a simple rectangular shape. You could be fancy and create like a pointy triangular shape as well. That works. I'm going to leave it as that. Okay, so with this, we can now go into the edit mode, and then with go hit tab, go into edit mode, and then select everything, and with Alt S, you can play around with the scale. And for this case, assuming that -y is the front, we want to set this as the root of the hair, and we want this to be the tip. So this being the tip, I'm going to just hit Alt S, and shrink this down all the way. Okay, and then now what we want to do is to have the pivot point be over here. As you can see, if I rotate the curve, it is rotating. The pivot point is in the middle. What we're gonna do is, well, normally what I would do is to use my own add-on that is available on my Patreon, which isn't active anymore, but I would just do it like that. Right, and there you go. But assuming that, okay, you want to do it manually, I'm gonna assume that your cursor is right smack in the center of the world origin. So select the root of the hair, and then hit Shift S, go to cursor to select it, and then you're gonna bring your cursor over there. then go back into edit. No, so go back into object mode from edit mode, and then right click, set origin to 3D cursor. That's it. All right. So now that we have our chunk of hair, I'm just gonna rotate it down like this. Okay. I'm just gonna set it down like that. And then now what we're gonna do is to create a strip of specular. Okay. We want to get that anisotropic look like this, right? Okay. This strip of specular right there. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and wait 1 sec. Give me a sec, real. 1 sec. Let me just make sure that I have everything opened. Okay, cool. Wait, one more time. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm gonna go into shader editor, the shader editor. Right here, I have opened the UV editor, and then let's create a new material. And I'm gonna throw in a color ramp, and then a gradient texture, and then I'm gonna Control T on the gradient texture, and then it'll just bring this up. We don't need this mapping node. Let's delete that. Now throw the UV into the vector, and then gradient texture into the color ramp, and there you go. So what I'm gonna do now is to bring this color stop to 0.5. Create a new color ramp stop, bring it all the way to the end, make it black, and then we're going to pinch it down like this. That's it. Now we have a strip of specular. But let me explain to you why this works in the first place, right? If we go in a edit mode, we don't see any UV appearing. So you would think like, wait, there's no UV. How is this even working? There actually is a UV. It's just not displaying it because we're in curves. So if I were to convert this to a mesh, you can see now that we actually have UVs. Okay, and let's see how they correspond to the viewport. Okay, I'm gonna reset this rotation. All right. So if you look at this, you can see how the color ramp corresponds with the strip. This is the root. This area is the tip. All right, let's undo that. And then let's also take a look at how they correspond with the UVs. Okay, I'm gonna run along down here. You can see how it corresponds to one another. It's running down down the strip. It is going along this axis. In case you didn't know, right? This, to us, we all know this as the x-axis, right? The horizontal axis is always x. But this is also u. That is what UV actually is. It's just, instead of XYZ, it's just UVs. So the y-axis, this is the V. Damn it. Can I write? This is the V. So how I remember this is V for vertical. That's it. So U is the X. All right, so now that we know that going from top to bottom, we're going along the X, and then from right to left, we're going along the Y. We can now move on to the rest of the tutorial. Now you know that this curve actually comes with its own UVs, okay? So if we go back into this, we have our strip of specular, but there's no movement. We need the specular to move like this. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? What we're going to be utilizing is the vector transform node. Vector, can I English? Transform node. There we go. All right, set this to vector. Okay, first of all, shout out to Lightning Boy Studio for this particular method. Huge shout out to him. Anyway, we're going to set this to 0, 0, and 1. All right. There you go. And set this to camera. So we want to convert the world coordinates to the camera coordinates. So now we can see the position of the camera is essentially just changing the value. From top we get green, to the bottom we get blue. Okay, so we're gonna be using this value to mess with the position of the UV of the specular strip. Okay, we're gonna use this and tell Blender, hey, I'm gonna use this and move this dude over here. So how are we gonna do that? Okay, if we convert, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna need to tell Blender, I want to use the Z position of the camera to move the specular strip along the, what is it? The x-axis, right? Sorry, let me just pull that up again so that you can see what I'm talking about. Convert to mesh. We want it to move, run down along the X or the U axis of the strip. Okay, we want it to run down like that. So let me just erase that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is to create a separate XYZ and then force this to be the X, and then we want to create another separate XYZ and utilize the Z. Okay, so you can see now it goes from black to white, and then we're gonna use a math node and then throw this in there, throw that in there, and then we're gonna do subtract. I'm gonna show you the difference between add and subtract. Okay, they're just literally the opposite of one another. There we go. It moves now, okay? And how it should move, by the way, is as you rotate your camera down, as you bring it down, it should go down, the specular strip should go down like a waterfall. And as you bring your camera up, it should climb up, okay? Not the other way around, not like this. Okay, if it's going against the rotation, then you have it wrong. I'm gonna set this to subtract. If you have this exact setup going on, but the position is the other way around, then you probably didn't set the left side to be the root. You probably used the right side to be the root. Okay, so if anything goes wrong, just you could set this to -1. It is all essentially doing the same thing. Okay, set that to -1 or do add instead. Okay, I'm gonna leave this at subtract. Now, it is moving a little fast. If you want like control over this, you could tell Blender, hey, I want this to move at a 50% speed. There you go, done. Or you want a 20% speed, done. Okay, but the problem with doing this is that if you move this value, you can see how it recompiles every time, and it's pretty annoying to work with. So instead, what you could do is throw in another math node. Is this going to be uploaded as a normal video on YouTube later? It's going to be uploaded as a stream. So yes, you will be able to watch this video again. All right, and then what we're going to do is to set this to multiply, and then set this to 80%, right? 0.8, 80%, or 0.5, or 50%. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at 80% for now, and that's it. We now have our specular strip and our specular movement. Okay, let me just make sure that the stream is still going on. Cool. All right, next. Now the specular is looking a little too clean, right? If you look at the final product, you can see how it kind of like breaks up into the strands. Right now it's very, very uniform. So what we want to tell Blender to do is, hey, I want you to disrupt the UVs of this gradient of this specular strip. Okay. So I'm gonna create a noise texture 3D is fine. You could set it to 2D. Doesn't really matter at this point. And then I'm gonna throw the UVs to the vector. And if you can, as you can see, let me just scale this up so it's more evident. It is a uniform. It's a uniform noise texture. What we want to do instead is to have these like these strands to go down like this, right? We want to create strands like that that eventually converge into the tip, okay? As opposed to the uniform texture. So what we need to tell Blender is that, let's just say we have all of these points, okay? Just draw them out. All these points, by the way, actually, I'm gonna convert this to a mesh so that it's clearer, okay? These, you can see that these points, they kind of like, no, sorry. These points, you can see that they go along the V axis of the UVs or the Y, okay? So we want to tell Blender, hey, I want this point to be pure white. I want this point to be pure black. I want this to be 25% gray. I want this to be middle gray. I want this to be 75% gray. And have them values be at random. Okay? So how are we going to do that? Again, we're going to use the separate XYZ. And then, again, these points, they're going along the Y-axis, right? Or the V-axis. So we're going to use separate XYZ and we're going to use Y and then throw that into the noise texture. And you can see how the noise texture, they're now being forced in the Y-axis. So cool. Now let's use that to disrupt the UVs. Okay? And let's see how it looks. All right, I'm going to create a mix color node and then put this noise texture in B and use the UVs in A. Okay, so if you guys didn't know, a factor of 0 is A. Okay, let me just draw this out so in case just in case there are any beginners out there that doesn't know how all of this correlate with one another. So 0 equals A equals black. 1 equals B equals white. Okay? So anything that is white that goes into the factor equals B, right? Or 1. That just essentially means that you're setting the that portion of the mask to be at 1. Okay, so all right. So now what we're gonna do is to just throw this into the vector of the separate XYZ that we just created. Okay, and then I should have probably grouped them up to make them a little bit neater, but sorry about that. But anyway, if I were to increase this, you can start to see how it's disrupting the UVs. Pretty cool. One thing you have to keep in mind is that anything that involves vectors like UVs or a height map, you want to set, you don't want to leave it at mix. You want to use linear light, okay? Just look at the, like, it's different, okay? Just trust me on this. It has something to do with like the gamma curve, I believe. So we want to have like a linear value that goes from 0 to 1 instead of like the RGB curve. I could be wrong on this, but it's just trust me on this. Anything that involves height maps or vector, just set it to linear light. Okay? And then, there we go. Just like that, we have a specular mask that moves along the strip. So now with this mask, what we're gonna do is, okay, let me just group them up so that you guys, so that it's not so messy. I'm sorry about that. Let me just frame this. Okay. This is, I'm gonna call this the noise strands, okay? And then the vector transform node portion, I'm gonna call this specular. I'm just gonna call this movement, okay? Movement. And then these nodes are, yeah, they basically subtract the vectors, and then they go into this, which I will call this the specular profile, okay? That's it. Now that we have this little setup over here, we can now throw this into the vector of a mixed color node. All right? You're late, don't worry about it. This stream will be live. Will be up on my channel. So you could just replay this stream over and over again. Anyway, like I said, anything that is white equals B. So this B will be our specular color. Anything that is black, right, the black portions, will be A. So let's create, you know what, I'm just gonna borrow this color, okay? I'm just gonna yoink it right now. Copy that. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna set this to be your whatever color you want. It could be pink, purple, whatever. And then just copy over the color to B, and just simply raise the value a little bit. That's it. Okay? You could be a little more fancy if you need like a, I don't know, if you want to play with the hue, it's up to you. Then just throw that into the base color, and now you have this. But it looks nowhere near to this. So let's work with the look development a little bit. The first thing that I like to do is to set this to be a little bit more flat shaded, kind of like in Arcane. So how you could do that is just by lowering down the IOR, the index of refraction, that essentially removes the amount of specular reflecting off the object. Okay. Another way you can improve this look development is, again, to borrow this noise strands. Okay, just the noise texture will do. And then I'm gonna create a ramp. Okay, throw that in there. There you go. Right, and then I'm gonna throw this ramp into metallic. See the difference? Immediately, it looks so much better. However, obviously, this is no longer physically accurate. I don't think that was what we're going for in the first place. So that is what you're concerned about. Then, I don't know, maybe you don't go for this method. Again, and also, I want to add on that the index of refraction does not affect the metallic portion of, the metallic portion. It has its own, like, specular behaviors. So if you want full control over the amount of specular you want to introduce to the hair, then don't use the metallic portion. Don't use this part. But that's what I did for this hair. If you like this look, then just stick with me. Okay. Next, another way to create a variation of strands, right? I'm gonna remove the metallic for now so that you can see what's going on. Another way to go about this is to use, again, I'm going to use this noise strands. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is to create another mix node and have whatever we had here go into A and B, both A and B, all right? And then we're going to use this mask to tell Blender whatever is white will be B, whatever is black will be A. Okay, but they're both the same color, so nothing's going to change. So let's change that. Let's create a hue saturation value and darken B. There you go. Or you could even lighten it. Up to you, your call. The cool thing about this is that it accounts for the value of the specular as well. Okay, instead of creating a separate specular color, you're essentially just changing the entire value of this setup right here. Yeah. So I'm gonna throw this setup back into the metallic. And yeah, if you don't like, you just play around with the values until it works for you. There you go. Now, let's spice this up a little bit more, okay? Let's create some bumps. So again, I'm going to be utilizing the noise texture. I'm going to create another color ramp. Okay, let's bring, okay, again, I'm connecting the vector of the noise strands to the color ramp. Now let's bring that over here. Then let's create a bump node. Throw that into the height map, normal to normal, and let me just show you the results. Throw this into the normal socket, and it's gonna be way too bumpy. It's way too much, okay? So immediately you would think, hey, let's lower down the strength, right? It's too much. No. Anything that involves a height map, right? Don't use strength. This is like using an opacity slider. Instead, you want to play with the distance instead. Because the distance actually, like, it accounts for the height, okay? The strength is more of like again, like an opacity slider. So I'm going to set this to like 0.01. There you go. Just play with the value until it works. Right now I think this hair is probably giant. That's why, let's see. How big is this hair? Yeah, this hair is way too big. This hair is like 3 meters long, okay? So if your hair was created according to scale, then this bump value should be way lower than it is right now. All right. So let's make things a little bit more neat. I'm gonna call this one bump, or rather call this Strands Bump. And then this is I'll just leave it as it is. Okay, there we go. So we're pretty much done, but we could make it fancier. We could introduce this little like strands at the tip, right? So let's do that. So how we're gonna do that is, again, we're gonna create another gradient texture. I'm not gonna use this one because things are getting a little bit messy now. So let's duplicate that. I'm gonna hit Alt P to unparent it from the frame. Okay. I'm gonna create a color ramp. And again, like I said, let's just bring it here so just so that we have some visual aid, okay? I want the tips to be transparent, okay? So anything that is transparent. Oh, what was that? Sorry about that. Danny, thank you for the 1 bit. Okay. So what we're gonna do is anything that is okay. Actually, sorry. Scratch that. Okay. Hold this thought right here. Anything that is an alpha of 0, it means it's transparent. Anything that is 1, it means it's fully opaque. So now we know that 0 is transparent. We want to make the tip transparent like that. Right? We want a tip to be transparent. So now let's throw this setup into alpha. Okay? Now we have transparent tips. If anyone is using an older version of Blender, 4.1 and before, make sure to go to your materials, go to properties, and then set, you know what, let me just, 1 sec. Let me just show it to you. I'm just going to open up an older version of Blender. You want to go over to materials. sorry, what is it? Material, yeah, material, scroll down all the way to viewport display, and then set the blend mode to alpha hashed, okay? If your tip is appearing as just black, then do what I just told you to do. Okay, back to the tutorial. All right, we now have transparent tips. However, they're uniform. So we have to break this up again. Actually, let me just, let's hit Control T, okay? And bring UVs to vector, okay? So the same thing as we did with the noise, with the specular profile, we want to do the same thing over here. So let's borrow this noise texture, okay, and throw it into a mix color node. A mix color node, okay? Throw that into, where's that? That caught me off guard. I forgot to turn off sound alerts. Okay, we want to disrupt the UVs, so let's throw UVs to A again, and then the noise to B. Same thing, okay? And then throw that into the vector. Let me just make that a little bit more neat for you to see. Okay, give it a sec. Give it a sec. What is going on? There it is. There it is. Okay, slowly introduce it. You can see now that we have strands at the tip, but again, it's acting weird because the blending mode is set to mix. Let's set this to linear light. Anything that involves with vectors or height map, just set it to linear light. There we go. Transparent tips. So let's see how that looks like together, like as a whole. There you go. Just play around with the ramp to get your desired values. Okay. And that's it. That's essentially how you create this. Okay. Let's see if I have any additional tips for you. Yeah, that's really it, actually. You could mess around with the metallic portion to make it shinier, okay? One additional tip that I can give you guys is, let's just say you want to use a single slider to play with the width of the specular profile, right? Let's just say from 0 to 1, from 0 to 1, I want this to go from whatever this is right now to be like this. So what you could do is go over to the graph editor. This one is a little bit more advanced, okay? So try to keep up. Go to the graph editor, okay? And then right-click the value, copy as new driver, and then click on the color stop, the position, right-click here, and paste driver. Okay, now you can see how this is moving that. And if we take a look at this in the... Where is it? Why is it not appearing? Drivers, my bad. Sorry, not graph editor, but drivers. See, this is why I write scripts on YouTube. All right. And then we're going to do the exact same thing for the other side. Okay, copy. Right-click, copy as new driver, and then click on this, right-click, and paste driver. Okay, but now you can see from 0 to 1, they're both going from left to right. So what we want to do is to use the second stop that we copied this over it was green, right? The first one was red. So what we want to do is to flip this the other way around. Just hit G, then go up like that, and then bring this down like this. And now from 0 to 1, you can play with the width of the specular strip. That's just some additional tip for you. Also, let me just put this aside. Okay, ignore that for now. But also, what you can do is to create a fun little like a two different specular strip profiles. So what I mean by that is that okay, earlier we had this, right? So earlier we had this. Okay, what if you want another strip? Literally do the exact same thing, but over here. Okay, create the stop, make it black. Create the stop, make it black, and there you go. Now you have two strips of specular. You could go up to like however you could squeeze in over here. It's really up to you. All right. So that is additional tip number 2. Additional tip number 3 is you could create a sheen around each strand. Okay. So let's go over the sheen. Increase the weight. Okay, you're kind of getting that Fresnel look. Decrease the roughness, okay, so that it only wraps around the edges. And this creates like a silkier look. And what you can do is, instead of having it to be pure white, you could throw in the base color that you've created, okay, over to tint. And then with the hue set value, you could raise the value up like that. You could make it bright. Okay, let's see what that looks like in action. Okay, there you go. 2, I'm gonna set the weight to 1. Okay, 3, make it 5, make it 10. There you go. You see that nice little sheen that wraps around the hair? There you go. So that's really it, actually. Let's read some of the questions before we conclude this tutorial. Or if anything comes to mind, I'll address it. Hi everyone, yo, Rosa, welcome to the YouTube chat. Okay, just keep making stuff and remember to stay consistent. Make sure to learn new things every day. Keep in mind, you can't learn just by watching YouTube videos, tips and tricks you need to apply. Good one there, Uncube. Asking a question you already answered or you're planning on answering, but are you going to cover the strands like you showed in the live stream for the fur yesterday? The strands like you showed in the live stream yesterday, the strands. I'm not sure what you mean by the strands. Oh, I probably answered your question. Maybe I did. Green hat, my man. What if I want 2 color in one hair? Like Harley Quinn? Let's see, Harley Quinn. That's a good question right there. 2 colors. Let's do that. Okay, so you want a gradient of colors. Let's do that. So let's just say I want to transition from blonde to blue. Let's do that. Okay, so how we're gonna do that? Let's think. Let's think for a bit. Okay. Let's think. Okay, first of all, what we're gonna do, let me just erase this, is to create a gradient. All right, this is method number 1. Okay, let's just take this as method number 1. So what we want to do is to have a gradient from blonde to blue. However, if you were to do it this way, right? Okay, let me just create a gradient first, and then I'll do as we go, and then I'll explain as we go as well. So let's create a gradient texture like we did with the rest. Okay, then again, throw the UVs in the vector. I'm going to delete this, and then create a ramp, just like that. And now we have a gradient from black to white, which we can use to tell Blender, hey, anything that is black, I want it to be blonde. Anything that is white, I want it to be blue. So let's do that. Right now, this is blue. So anything that is a, let's see, what is this? Oh, that is for the tint. Sorry for the mess, by the way. This is why I write scripts, you know. Okay, so let's create another mix color. Throw it here in the mix. Actually, let's put it at the end, right here. I'm gonna remove the tint for now. Okay, let's ignore that. Let's ignore the sheen, okay? So that it's not so messy. Go away. Okay, cool. So let's create a gradient. Let's bring this setup over here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is to tint the hair. So work with the blue that we have, and then I'm gonna tint it with the hue set value to blonde. So let's throw this base color into both A and B as well. And then throw this gradient into the mix, like that. And so now that we know that we want black to be blonde, I'm gonna have to make A blonde. Okay, so let's create a hue set value. And blonde is a yellowish tinge. So let's make this yellow first. Okay. I'm gonna adjust the gradient so it's more prominent. And then let's desaturate it. Let's make it brighter. And throw that into the base color. There you go. And just keep playing until it looks blonde, I guess. This is like a very a hacky way to do it. Okay. And again, you could disrupt the transitions. You could disrupt the transition by using the noise. Let's do that. I'm gonna create another mix node between the texture coordinate and the gradient texture. I'm gonna create a mix node. Again, you want to set it to linear light. And then let's throw in the noise to B and mess up the transition points. There it is. Makes it a little bit more organic, you know? There you go. Uniform transition to a more natural transition. Okay? There you go. Make it more blonde. There's probably a better way to go about this. Okay? Let's think. I would probably create a gradient over here instead on the base color. Okay. This is method 1. All right, method 2, let's delete everything and revert back to the base color that we had. Okay. So this was the setup that we had. I'm going to delete this for now. Let's delete all of that. We don't need that. I'm just going to throw this into the base color right there. Okay. So to recap, we're going from the specular profile. I'm going to delete this. This is way too messy. Delete that. I'm going to go from the specular profile to the vector. Okay. And this vector over here is our color. So we have the base color and then the specular color. So again, how we did that is by copying the base color over to B and then increasing the value just a little bit. And then we plug it straight into the base color. But instead of doing that now, okay, what I'm going to do is to create a blonde color first. Okay, so let's make this blonde. Actually, okay, yeah. Let me think. Okay, let's make this blonde. What I'm doing now is I'm just setting a blonde. I'm just trying to create a blonde color. Instead of creating it here, right? And instead of having like this blue specular thingy in the way, I'm just gonna do it over here. So let's create a blonde color. Let's make this point, I don't know, 08. Let's see how that looks in the setup. Okay, that looks good to me, right? So I'm going to copy this color over here. Okay, there we go. And then copy this over to B and make that a little more specular-y, just like that. Okay, if that's even a word. Blonde. And now let's create the transition point from this to blue. I wish I didn't delete the blue, but let's just copy that over to blue. Okay. We're going to do the exact same thing. So copy the blues over here, just raise this up a little bit. And now we have two sets of colors. We got the blonde and we got the blue. So now we're just going to merge these two colors using the transition point that we talked about. Okay, so let's create a mix color. Okay, remember, like we said earlier, 0 equals A, 1 equals B. And let's create a gradient. Okay, let's create a gradient. Control T. Let's use the texture coordinates. The UV, we just need the UV. Okay, and then create a ramp. That's it. Okay, so anything that is black is A or 0. Anything that is white is B or 1. Okay, so let's just throw that in there. And now you should be able to see the transition point between the blonde and blue. That's it. Now you can just mess around with this to find the ideal transition point. And then, again, we want to disrupt the vector. We want to disrupt the UVs. So what do? We've done this hundreds of times at this point. So let's duplicate the noise. Actually, no, I'm not going to duplicate that. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this noise texture from the noise strands. Let's yoink that vector and then create a mix color node. Okay. Whoops. Oh, dang it. Let's do it again. I'm going to create a mix color node. I want to throw this into the vector. And now let's bring that over there. Come on. Come here. Okay, cool. Now, I want my UVs to be in A and the noise to be in B. Then throw that into the vector, and then again, anything that involves UVs or vectors or height, set it to linear light. Okay. And see, it disrupts the UVs now. And so the transition point is going to look a lot more natural. There we go. There it is. The Harley Quinn hair. Hope that answers your question, Dr. Kaka. Rewinding, enjoy the live, and thank you so much for the great toot. I was actually working on this morning, but like not like this. Yeah, no problem. Yo, Stone, what's up? Mr. 3D, I'm good. I'm doing good. Any suggestions for having good knowledge on geometry and shading nodes? Geometry nodes, I got no clue. Okay, anything that has like geometry nodes, anything that involves geometry nodes, I immediately dip. I'm out of there. Shading nodes, it's just repetition of applying the different nodes. All right, so if you look up like a bunch of, like, let's just say you've taken up like 10 different tutorials that teaches you to use these nodes in different applications, you'll eventually start to get the hang of like, you start getting the hang of each node and what they could be used for. So it's really just about repeating, like using the notes over and over again. The first few times you use it, you're not going to remember how to use it. All right. And then like as you keep using it, it starts becoming muscle memory. There you go. You're just starting with Blender. I'm getting it right now. Let's go. Let's go. For me, the rite of passage was the donut tutorial. Let me just pop the chat out so that you can see what's going on. Right. By the way, I'm reading the YouTube chat. My Twitchies. I will get back to you, okay? I will get back to you. All right, let me just close this. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the tutorial. Anything that I've left out will be addressed in the final video. Okay, let me just put this back in here. All right. Yeah, any additional tips that I can think of, I will address it in the video. But this was the lengthier explanation of the subject, because in the video I'm not gonna be explaining every single thing, like what each of every one of these notes do, because that would make the video like an hour long. How long has this stream been going on? An hour and a minute. Okay, so not that bad. Quite a short tutorial for a live one. So yeah, that's it. In the video, by the way, I will also be teaching you how to groom the hair, how to like basically the philosophy or the concept behind like creating chunks of hair like these. Okay, this, by the way, is from an Isha sculpt that I recently did. Let me see if I still have it right here. Isha, there you go. There, but without the dye. The random dye, by the way. Oh wait, I actually do have an additional tip. I do have one last additional tip. Last one. Before we conclude the stream, okay, one more tip for you. I'm gonna duplicate a bunch of these hairs, okay? I'm gonna duplicate these a bunch. Now, if you look at this node, sorry about that, big burp. Okay, let's create an object info node, and let's go over to random. Okay, I'm just gonna keep duplicating these just a little bit more. You can see that it's generating random values. All right. So this is really useful if you want to create like a variety of hair colors. This is very useful. Just throw in a map range, or a color ramp will work as well. You know what? I'll just use a color ramp for a better visual aid. There we go. Okay. You can see how every one of them has like their own values, random values. So what we could do over here is, let's see. Let me think. There are many ways to go about this. Okay, let's just say, I want. Let's just say I don't want every single hair to have a. I don't want every single hair to transition from blonde to blue. I want some of them to maintain purely blonde, okay? So let's look at this setup over here. I'm gonna pull everything aside so it's a little bit neater for all of you to see, okay? So the transition point between A and B, we're going from A to B, right? So anything that is black is blonde, anything that is white is blue. Okay, so if we look at this, anything that is black will be blue. Anything that is anything that is black will be blonde. Anything that is white will be blue. So with this gradient texture over here, actually, can I delete that? Nah, I won't. Let me just pull that aside. I'm sorry, I'm probably confusing you a little bit. Come on, cut. Go away. Go away. Okay. Focus on these, okay? Just focus on them. So what I want to do is to create a mix color node and then throw this thingy over here to what is that? What is that? Oh, actually, wait. Before we do this, okay. Right now you can see that they're gradually fading away. All right, I only want either pure black or pure white. Okay, so what we can do actually, instead of using a color ramp, is we could create a math node. Okay, then go to greater than. All right, and see what it does. Look at that. Anything that is greater than this value will appear, will be white. Anything that is below this threshold will be black, right? Anything that's greater than, yeah. Either or, anyway, whatever it is, it works. Okay, I can delete this color ramp, throw this into the value, and it still works. Okay, with that, what I can do now is tell Blender. I'm gonna throw this into the vector, and then tell Blender anything that is black will be A, anything that is white will be B. So anything that is black, I want it to be black. Anything that is white, I want it to be this, whatever this is. Okay? And then let's throw that into the vector of, what is this? Yeah, I'm gonna throw that into the vector. That's it. Okay, now we can see, let it compile, give it a second, that we have a slider that tells Blender to randomly distribute the transition point, the transitional dye, whatever this is, the Harley Quinn hair, okay? So yeah, that's an additional tip. I just remembered to, yeah, I just remembered it. What else can we do with this? What else can we do with this? I guess we could also use this to randomly shift the hue of things. So let's see. How did I do it? Kind of forgot. Let me just recap a little bit. Who's that? Laban, thank you for the follow. Oh, hydrate. I'm so sorry. My Twitchies. Cheers. And 80 for you. Thank you, Denny, for the bit. Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm probably gonna release this hair shader to all of you. I'm not sure how I'm gonna price it yet, but it basically does everything that I just taught you, just neatly arranged. So what we could do is we could go to variation, right, and then create a random hue. If you want to do that, let's see how I did it. I kind of forgot. How did I do it? Variation, random. Oh, okay. Mix from pure. From random goes into. Oh, okay, I get it now. Okay. All right, so what if you want to create this? If you want some hue variation for each individual strand like this, right? What if you want that? Okay, what if you just want a subtle shift in hue? Let's do that, okay? So, again, I'm gonna delete everything so that it's not so confusing. All right. So I'm gonna work with this first. I'm gonna work with the blue, the base blue that we created. Okay, that's the base color. But now I want to rainbowify this. So how do we do that? How we do that is by creating... Okay. What we're going to do is to duplicate this mix color node. And then again, I'm going to throw this into both A and B like that. Okay. So it's not doing anything. It is telling Blender that I want both sockets to be the same color. But now I'm going to spice it up. I'm going to go to B. And then we could change the color like that, okay? But we don't want to do it for every single one of them, right? So what do? Let's create the object info node again. And then you could just throw that into the hue and call it done. You could, okay? You could do that. But what if you want more control? Okay, so let's undo that. Let's create a mix node. Okay, and as you can see, the base value of the hue is 0.5. So we're going to use this slider to tell Blender I want to go from the base value to a completely end of the spectrum hue shift. Okay, so base value is 0.5, and then a crazy hue shift value would be the random. Okay, let's throw that over there. And then let's throw this into hue. So with this set to 0, nothing is happening because we've set the base value to be 0.5, which is the base value of the hue. Now, if we start to increase this, you can see it starts to shift. That's it. It's that simple. Okay? It's that simple. Boom. Now you could apply the same concept for anything else. You could apply the same concept for the saturation. You could apply the same concept for the value. It's fun, okay? Just go and explore with this information. Go out there and explore. That's it. That's really it. Why not map range? You could use map range too. But let's just say you want to create your own node group, right? If you want to go from 0 to 1, I just find this to be a lot more user-friendly. That's really it. Again, there's no hard and fast rule with all of this. You could do whatever the heck you want. Great tips and knowledge. I'm glad you think so. Okay, yeah, that's it. I just taught you a bunch of additional tips on top of the main tutorial. Look out for the main video that is coming out. I'm not sure when. It should be this. Okay, this month. I'm gonna promise it's gonna come out sometime this month. I'm just not sure when. The video that's coming out is gonna be a truncated version, straight to the point, scripted, so no BS. But it won't be as thorough as this. I'm not gonna be explaining every single thing that I did over here. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This isn't really related, but is there any way to blur a procedural texture? Not at the moment, no. You can only blur geometry nodes stuff, but not in the shader editor for some reason. But yeah, sadly not yet. I'm going to conclude the stream. Again, we're going to go live in a bit for a speed sculpt. So if you want to hop over there, then feel free to. But if not, thanks for watching this tutorial. Look out for the main video, or if the video is already out, it should be in the description down below. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Bye, YouTube.